Thank you very much. Do we have the pointer or the so I can click for? Okay, I can change pictures here. That would be maybe do. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning, and I'm quite aware that the numbers I represent here as representing somehow the Danish case, they are extremely much smaller than what we had just heard from China. But what I can do offer is that I think the revolution you talked about, that was started here earlier than we did in China, that you are doing now in China. So maybe some of the experiences we have been gaining over the last couple of years can be of some use, even though the numbers are so much smaller, can be of some use for you in the route you are now pursuing. I hope that's the case at least. We started the Danish energy revolution, to pick on your language, with the first oil crisis in the 1973-74. And this was, I won't go into long historical issues here, but this was a real shock to the Danish society. At that time, energy production here was based almost 100% on oil. And this oil was almost 100% originating from the Middle East, primarily from Saudi Arabia. And then overnight came the embargo, no oil to this country, so we learned the hard way. It was even a very cold winter that winter. So we learned the hard way that energy security of supply is a very, very important issue for a country. So we started a revolution, you may say, and what we did was, as some of the items are put on the slide here, we did a lot of things about energy conservation in the houses, as you just talked about. We started that up. We were so lucky that we at that time also found natural gas in the Danish North Sea. So we built a natural gas system which could supply us around one quarter of our energy needs. So that helped something. And we started developing the renewable sector. And that was, in our case, specifically the wind turbines. And I will revert. This is yours? Okay.
It's mine, but for sure you can use it.
Thank you. And this, I will come back to the wind turbines, but as you know, the Danes are doing well on the wind side today, and that is what was started up in the early 70s. What we also learned from this revolution was that it gave birth to a lot of new industries in Denmark. Insulation, better windows, thermostats, a lot of things. So it was, from an industrial point of view, it was also very healthy for the Danish economic society. And then we started district heating and the combined heat and power venture, which is the topic of today. So more or less, the situation where Denmark, we like to see ourselves as a sort of a front runner. Maybe we are still for some time, I hope. But all this development started up with the revolutionary kick with the first oil crisis. And we have been building on these blocks ever since. So, to make the big picture here, the two really important things in our revolution, energy revolution, is wind and district heating. And when we look at the numbers, we see that today 64% of all Danish households are heated by district heating. In the area we are here in Copenhagen, it's 100% or 99 point something. And the target is 5 years ahead. It will be increased to around 70% of our households. Before the energy crisis, it was close to nothing. So this is a big change. If we look to the other big part of our revolution, the turbines, then today or last year, 40% of the electricity consumed in this country came from the wind turbines. And the target is, next in 2020 that it should be at least 50%, and probably it will be more. So we have really stressed these two pillars in our energy transition, the district heating and the wind turbines. And I think, looking back to the journey we have been through, I think it has been a great success for the Danish society. But of course, as I'll come back to, nothing is just a success. There are also challenges, and there are some of them, those we have to face just now. And what are three of the challenges we are looking into just now? One is that for some years, for 20 years or something, Denmark has been a net exporter of energy. So the old problem we had with importing energy from unstable and unfriendly countries, that has been solved for at least 20 years. But this is no more the case. The production of oil and gas in the Danish North Sea is declining, will go on declining. So for coming years, we are not able to to produce our own energy, unless we learn how to use the energy more efficient, and we learn how to produce more of the energy by renewables, which we still have a lot of in this country. So the first thing is, if we want to stick to the lessons we learned in 1973, meaning that it's no good for a society to be dependent on importing its energy, because it makes you very vulnerable, then we must do two things. We must increase our renewable production, and we must increase the efficiency with which we use energy. And we are working on that, and here district heating, of course, is crucial. The second issue we are facing now, trying to find good solutions to, is that when we have such a significant part of our electricity produced by wind turbines, then of course we have a very volatile, a very unstable energy production, because sometime we have a lot of wind, sometime we have no wind. And I remember years back people said, yes, you can accommodate 5% volatile electricity from wind in your system. That will go. Then we passed 5, then people said, okay, we can accommodate 10%. Then we passed 10%. And now we have passed 40%, and we still have stable electricity. But of course, as we increase the share of unstable wind in our system, of course, the challenges to remain and have a stable system increases. So this is a crucial point for our focus in years to come. The third major issue we are looking into is that this revolution and this goes to one of the questions before, this revolution we did back after the first oil crisis, this has given us a very good position to export Danish technology in these areas. Specifically on wind, we have been very successful, but when it comes to district heating, I think we are also front runners in this area, but we are not very good at exporting our district heating. So this will be a focus area also in years to come, to figure out how can we make more money out of this experience we have gained here. If I for one moment, just to come into the league of China, I leave Denmark and go to the European Union, then we are more, not quite, but then we are more alike. Just put one short note on what is going on in the European Union. here is a very interesting energy revolution on its way also. We know that nuclear is being reduced, in some countries phased out, in other countries reduced, but specifically in Germany, of course, but on a general note, nuclear will play a reduced role in our supply in years to come. We know that coal will be reduced. A lot of the coal plants are pretty old in Europe, and due to environmental issues, not CO2, but other environmental issues, these plants have to be closed within very few years, and practically no new coal plants are being built. So the supply in Europe from nuclear and from coal will go down over a very short time. And what should Europe do in this situation? The European Union, the new Commission, has issued what they call an energy union, taking up this issue. And they focus on that we must, in the European Union, we must find ways to produce more of our energy ourselves. Unfortunately, the North Sea, which has been a supply source for oil and gas for many years, is generally a very old area, and production will be decreasing. So that is not the way forward. The way forward is to use to take more energy out of renewables, also on a European scale. And the way forward is, of course, energy efficiency, energy savings, and district heating. Denmark has almost exhausted its potential, I think, on district heating with the high numbers I mentioned before, but that is certainly not the case in the European Union. There's a lot to do there to have the same high proportion of district heating as we have in Denmark. And I think this is district heating, besides increasing renewables, that are the two cornerstones in the energy union that is being discussed and being put through in Brussels just now. And of course, that is quite interesting. Here you see the renewables, here you see the district heating, and of course that is quite interesting for a small country like Denmark, because we have done our experiments there some years back. If the European Union is not doing these things, then what will happen is actually they will come to some extent in the Danish situation in 1973. With less nuclear, with less coal, what will be the substitute? That will be gas, primarily. Where will the gas come from? Primarily from Russia. So if you don't want to be dependent on big countries, then it's not a triviality to do this. You need to do these things. So therefore, I think even though in the European discussions there are pros and cons and you don't think things move, I think this is a necessity that means that this will happen. But it will take time. So what are the issues I mentioned before we are facing? With these 40 to 50% of electricity produced by the nice turbines, then the very acute issue is that we must find, you mentioned it also, Professor, we must find ways to store electricity. We can store coal easily, we can store gas, we can store oil, but we are lacking facilities to how to store electricity. But in the new society we are building, storage of electricity is absolutely a necessity. One thing is batteries, another thing could be combined electric boilers, heat pumps, and we are discussing these things very intensely these days in Denmark in order to make our new energy system work as a coherent system where the volatility that is in the system can be ameliorated by storage. So storage needs focus from academia, focus from business, that is a crucial point. In my previous work, it didn't work, but I had an idea, at least. That's better than no ideas, even though they don't work. So my idea was, when you have such a big number, such a high proportion of wind energy, then you should try to change your mobility to electric cars, because a combination of wind turbines and electric cars is a very good one, because the wind turbine is running also at night and people are not using power there, but the car can use power at night. So I think the idea was good, but it didn't work, so the company went burst. But maybe someday it will work. I still think it's a good idea. We have to find that kind of solutions. So what Denmark is working on now is that I think we have showed, together with others, that we can go a very far way on the renewable side. We are not using solar so much here, but you see the reason when you look out of the windows. But wind will be an increasing power resource here. District heat, I have talked about that. Energy efficiency, we have a lot of experience about that. But what is a real big challenge now is, with these building blocks, how do we construct an energy system that is coherent and stable with such volatile elements as we have here? I'm sure this is possible. Storage is a crucial point of it. Other issues will be part of it also. But this is what we are really struggling with in the Danish case just now. And to the storage, to give you an example about how the interconnection between wind and district heating works. In the Danish case, it's not big numbers in China, but we have in our district heating system, we have quite significant storage capacity. And the boilers and the heat pumps are crucial, and also the thermal storage will be crucial. Unfortunately, our system, our politicians are not quite there yet, but this has to be put more on the agenda, and you can see here that the potential in it is significant, at least in the Danish environment. Maybe I should add here for our foreigners that one of the reasons why our Danish system, with this high proportion of wind, still is working well is, of course, that we are very well interconnected with neighboring countries. So we have a very good connection to the Nordic countries, to the southern countries, and we are now will be building connections also to the UK and other places. So that is, of course, also part of the equation. But storage in combining wind and district heating, that is one of the crucial elements in the future energy system. And we are on our way there. The other issue I mentioned before is that we want to make money also. We want to do things that are good for climate and environment, and I think we are doing that. But we would also like to make money. And what we normally do is to export components, various types of components in district heating. What we are working on now is to try to find ways so that we can export systems. Seems logic, is very complicated in practice. But we know, you mentioned the ambitions in China. We know just south to the Danish border in Germany, with their phasing out nuclear, with their transition, Energiewende they have in Germany, the need with the European Union's ambitions, the need for district heating systems, for instance in Germany, is enormous. So it's a great opportunity for the Danish society to try to catch this opportunity and help the Germans in this transition, in this revolution in Germany. But in practical life, it's not quite as easy as in theoretical life. We are working on that. And here you see our exports, because we are very proud that we've been able to reduce CO2, but actually we are also very proud of the Danish energy revolution in the way that it cost a lot of money in the beginning, in the transition, but now it's paying back. So when you look to Danish exports, you see that export of energy technology is one of the fastest increasing components in our exports. And we have a lot of jobs created from this these days. It's an important part of job creation and also important part of export revenues. And of course we want this line to go north. And when we look to surrounding countries, to the problems in the world, we think this should be a no-brainer. It's just to find the way how to do it in practice. So I think looking forward for Danish society, there should, with the cooperation of other countries going in this direction, there should be a good possibility that we can help environment and still make a good business for the society here. Here are some of the things we have to, I won't go into that, some of the things we have to work with and we are working with in order to make a more systematic export performance work. We have a lot to learn there. I hope, but we know where we want to go. I hope this conference and the inputs and insights that we can get from this conference can be helpful in helping us to achieve these targets about exporting and about also the storage issues which are crucial to the Danish society just now. Thank you.